Welcome back to the Daily Hunt. I'm Henry, and I'm a professional trader, primarily focusing on swing trading, stocks and crypto, but I also trade commodities. This daily show is designed to give you an insight into what I'm looking at in the markets and what opportunities are there in the markets. The last few days, we've covered the various divergences that have led to sell-offs in stocks and crypto. And we've discussed some new ideas that I've been looking into. One of them being natural gas. And today we're going to be covering some new ideas I've shared in my Discord group, as well as what I'm looking for going into Jerome Powell's speech and a few other economic factors and data that will come out in the next few days and weeks. So let's get right into it. The first thing I want to do is I want to analyze the S&P 500, NASDAQ, VIX, and Russell 2000, and a few other charts related to the stock market and where I see it positioned. Right, so here's the S&P 500 chart. We discussed it in our previous video that right now it's getting a bounce on this trend line on this channel. It's looking like it's respecting it for now. One of the things that usually worries me about channels like this is if we get a bounce without touching the upper part of the channel, then I'm not too sure whether we're rolling over or we're going to continue higher. So at the moment, one of the things that I would probably be looking for on open is whether we're attempting to retake that 10 EMA level. That's exactly where I'm going to put an alert right now. Otherwise, the other thing that I see here is even though we might go higher, we might deflate, test this trend line again on the RSI, sell off again, and then potentially break the midpoint. That'll be the bullish scenario where we go one move up and then we come down, something like that. Okay. That would be bullish, then bearish quickly. So a resistance zone that turns into a key moment for many traders to enter short and take the short position. That's what I'm looking for at the moment. The other thing that I am analyzing is whether from these levels do we get bounces. And yes, we've got a bounce here in January. We've had a bounce in November as well, and a few other bounces around these levels. However, the key level for me is whether we stay below this line, which is 55 on the RSI, or we go all the way down to 50 and then below it. If we close below the 50, I think it's very, very problematic. I think that would be the chart also closing below this trend line. So with that in mind, I personally think the play would be a move up, which I think we're seeing today. If we go into the US 500, we're seeing a slight support here coming in and a potential move up and then a sell-off and then a staggered sell-off going into September, and then October we see a move up. At the moment, I've positioned myself in a few pharma stocks and some safer plays here, which are doing pretty well. As you can see here, yesterday the performance was pretty well on my portfolio, with one of them moving up 12%. ACHV did really well for me yesterday, and hopefully there's some follow through in the next few days. With the S&P though, overall, I have seen some sector rotation here, money going into the smaller stocks. However, yesterday it was a sell-off across the board, except a few. Okay, so now maybe we're seeing the whole market selling off. So initially it was large cap selling off, capital flowing into some of these financials and health tech and so on. Now we might actually see across the board sell off. So we have to be very, very particular with what stock we're buying, and that's why I'm being very careful here with my position sizing. We did see some big players like Palantir rebound a little bit. This has been one of the leading stocks. We've seen that rebound a little bit. We've seen Robinhood rebound a little bit here, and bounce off. However, I don't see strength here. I just see weakness. As you can see, shoulder, head, could even be seen as a double top here as well on the 1 daily chart. And then even if we get a right shoulder, we can get a further dip here, maybe into 38% retracement on the Fibonacci. That'll probably be around this zone, the 90 level. Okay, so although we're getting some bounces, I don't think it's a market where you want to be risk on, taking more risk. I think you have to be very, very selective where you're putting your money in. And I'd go as far as saying you're better off shorting here than taking long positions, because logically speaking, it's moved around, I think, 30%. I think this has moved around 100%. So it was $30. It went to 117. That's what, a 200 and something percent gain. Let's just do the calculation here. 312% gain. Okay, so 312% gain on Robinhood, around 36% in the market overall. We could expect at least a dip here, and that would be reasonable for the market to then move up higher, and Robinhood to also provide us with an opportunity. So I would go as far as saying shorting Robinhood, for me personally, it's not advice, of course, none of this is advice, it's just my analysis and my view, would probably be a better opportunity for me than taking the long position on Robinhood right now, especially when you're looking at the weekly, that 300% gain. We've gone to new all-time highs. We've got bearish divergence on the weekly here as well. So there's a number of factors as to why I would short Robinhood as opposed to taking a long position. Yes, of course, it would be bought up quickly again, but it would be a very, very quick short, maybe to this level around 90 to 85, just to make some extra profits. You're never going to become rich shorting. You're always going to become rich going long in the markets. As you can tell here, 300% gain in Robinhood since April. That's where you become rich. That's where you make large profits, not in the shorts. The shorts maximum you can do is probably 30-40% gains. Sometimes you get these huge drops which are around 70, 80, 90%, but you're never going to make over 100% here. Yeah, it's a nice little trade. I'll probably be looking at Palantir as well. Could be a good opportunity. However, I don't think it's as overextended. Actually, it's more overextended, and that's why we're getting these sell-offs. We've had the bearish divergences over and over and over again. Yes, the market pushed up high, and I personally even took the trades here on the moves higher, and this is why we're getting a big sell-off. The rebound on Palantir is happening because we've hit this previous resistance, which now has become support, and we're near the 20 EMA on the weekly, which is the half yearly. However, when I'm looking at when Palantir rebounds, it's around the 55 level on the RSI. I'm speaking about the RSI on the weekly, and around the 50 level on the weekly as well. So one of these two levels is what I would look for a nice bounce for bullish trade. So a long trade on Palantir, you get that retracement, you get that drop, you then get the bounce on the weekly for that next wave on Palantir. We'll see. I'm just going to do crossing down 60. No, I'll do around 55. Okay, so there you go. Palantir. We'll look at some of the other big players here, like Nvidia. I think it's good to, at the end of the week, see where the market is and what's happening with these big players. Again, an overextension here. We've got new all-time highs for Nvidia. Nvidia obviously didn't do as well as Robinhood. It did about 100%, which isn't too bad on this. And I think Nvidia gets a dip to around this level. 20 EMA, I think, on these big players, Nvidia, Palantir, Robinhood, have been leaders in this run, would be a nice level for us to start looking to buy unless we get a deeper drop. Excuse me. Okay, so that's Nvidia. Don't know why I've got that there, but yeah, that's where we're at. And if we go on the one daily, we are now dipping lower here on Nvidia, and I think the market could move down lower. Although the S&P is slightly up on the US 500 here, so we'll see how it opens. But I think it's looking like it's going to move lower. That's me covering some of the big players. Of course, we can cover many more. I don't want to focus too much on those. I did want to give you guys some ideas of what I'm looking at and why I think the market will move a little bit deeper because of these leaders like Palantir, Robinhood, Nvidia now looking overextended. Okay, so with the S&P covered, we can do a bit of an analysis on the NASDAQ. Again, the NASDAQ break in here yesterday below the 50 level, and I think that's where the momentum has shifted. Yes, there could be a bounce here temporarily. Again, I've drawn some potential scenarios: bounce, rejection, come back down, and then go even lower. That's probably more likely, again, for me, just because we're also under this trend line. We've also tested this trend line and are going down. I've seen that as resistance and I'm moving lower. And I expect the NASDAQ to show us around this level a nice bounce. Okay, this would be a nice bounce. The Russell was a little bit up yesterday. I think there's some rotation going into from large caps into small caps. However, if the market moves further down, dips a little bit further, I think small caps will also get dragged down. I just don't see small caps doing better than the overall market. And yes, like I said, there's sector rotation, but it could be temporary and not long-lived. In terms of the VIX, we saw the VIX moving up higher. Today it's sitting around the same level. If we get some negative response to Jerome Powell's speech today, we could see this VIX moving closer to that 19 level that I mentioned in the previous video, which I see as a key moment that needs to hold. Okay, so once we go there, we get that significant dip to around 20 EMA on these key players, maybe a little bit deeper on the S&P and the NASDAQ, and then we get the bounce. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I think the market needs, and I think this is the VIX now showing clear signs that we could get that very, very soon. Okay, so I put an alert there as well, so I know if that breaks. And in terms of my portfolio, I'll just quickly cover it here. IQ, these are slow movers, okay? Most of these are very, very slow, fairly stable. They're going to be pharma plays, maybe even slightly smaller caps. IQ have done pretty well right now. I'm on a 1-to-2 risk-reward ratio here. I am thinking about taking some profits off the table around this level. We'll see. AMPH, it was a re-entry, so it looks quite bad, the entry here. But the first trade was here. We sold around the 30.3 level, and we bought about around 29.6. So for me, it's just a cheaper rebuy of this previous entry. So I'm not worried about it dipping a little bit and then moving up higher, or even dipping a little bit deeper here. Campbell's a safety play. I really liked the consolidation here. For me, all of these levels that are being tested are really buying zones. We're seeing support around this level. Nice squeeze in price, and I think we can easily break up in the next few days, maybe next week, and move into 34 and then 36. These are the levels I would be looking to trim a little bit of my position and take some profit. 34, 36, and then maybe let the rest run. EPAM, again, I felt like this one had a nice break here. There you go. And I felt like we could, from this break, this is the level that I entered anyway. From this break, we can move at least to 172 and then 182. This is IT, similar to IQ here as well. We'll just have to see if this continues higher here, but it's getting a nice bounce, and I think there's room here on the RSI to move up higher. Yen and GN, Pharma play again, nice squeeze. I felt like I could have entered a little bit earlier around this level, but I was being cautious because there was kind of a rebound happening in the markets. I felt like maybe they could have gone higher. Monday, we had this move up higher here, and then I bought around this level a few days ago. I think it was Monday, Tuesday, put around this level, and we're about around the same level here. I think we are curling upwards. I think we can break up here. We just need one big momentum day, similar to what ACHV had yesterday. Just one big day. With these guys, Pharma play looks undervalued. There was some positive news on it becoming on targets being around $12. I think that led to some buy-in. There's been overall some positive news here. So what we traded was a breakout around this level. So consolidation here, breakout, and then it's coming back down again. I'm not too worried. I think this could be maybe a bit of a hold now for a few weeks because we're breaking some weekly structures. For me, though, it's one of those things where I hold, and I would need to see very, very soon a breakup off this level. Okay, so I'd want to see a breakup above that level for me to feel confident again. So this level here today, it moved up higher in pre-market, and then it's selling off. I think just because it hit that level of $3.20. But I'm trying to hold this a little bit longer, and I'm happy to hold it and manage it as much as I can with the potential bounce here and a continuation. Okay, so these are kind of safety plays, rotations going into Pharma, some other slower movers. These aren't leaders for sure, but the leaders now are looking like they're going to drop, like Palantir and Hood, like I covered, the ones I covered earlier. Okay, so that stock's covered. I want to cover crypto at the moment and where we stand. We have a key level around 112 for Bitcoin here, which is holding up. If this breaks, we go short and we can go to 108 to 100. Okay, we can go as deep as 100, maybe even a little bit lower, but that would be a nice reset level for a huge buy up by institutions. Again, there's some news circulating that BlackRock and other institutions are selling Bitcoin here. So I think that's creating some sort of fear. We'll have to see. The market in general is selling off a little bit. Ethereum is tightening right now, and without it breaking, I don't see it going bullish again. So I think we're more inclined to go short here, and I personally opened up a trade around that level. I'm managing anything under 4.2. I would be looking to sell off and maybe take a short for a lower move. It's a bit risky taking shorts right now just because there's a euphoric buy-in in crypto, and I think Ethereum especially. So I'm not really too keen on shorting. In terms of crypto plays, we can also do BMNR. So if you want to trade the crypto moves in stocks, BMNR is a nice one. SBET as well is very, very good. We just have to wait for it to consolidate and maybe break up again. So I'm looking at this level to place some alerts. These are, we have the ETFs, which we can trade as well. Okay. So we can also look at the ETFs to see if there's any opportunities or variances in movement. So divergences between the ETF and the actual Ethereum USDT price. And I don't really see much divergence here other than it being red, this candle, and Ethereum being green. Okay, so there's no real divergence at the moment, but it's looking pretty good for, I guess a deeper dip. For me, the deeper dip is looking very likely, especially with this rejection here on Ethereum. And although I'm long, it is what it is. I have actually traded something recently long, which is this, the Zcash. I took the trade around this level. It's nice consolidation here. I liked this. You see that trend line there breaking. I think that was a key level for me, and this is why I took the trade around here, around 40, and with a stop loss around this level, which is a key historical level as well. So it's looking pretty good on Zcash for crypto, and I'm happy to wait for the dip as well. And if that happens, a retest is okay. And it's looking pretty good. I think on the weekly as well, it's kind of gone through a very, very long consolidation, just breaking up here as well. Plenty of room to go and grow. And it's just probably a matter of waiting for the rest of the market to move. And I think Zcash might move, or it could move today. It could move in the next few days if crypto sells off. So that's with crypto. There's nothing else. For other ideas, whether that's in stocks and crypto, I suggest you guys follow the link in my bio to my Discord group and join the Discord group, because I provide my daily watch list there. So there'll be opportunities like Zcash. EHV was an opportunity that I had on my watch list about 2 days ago and only took the trade yesterday. So there's going to be plenty of opportunities if you're a trader or investor to go and see what I'm looking at as a swing trader, as well as get some insights there as well on macros as and when they happen. For example, Jerome Powell's speech today, my reaction, I'll be sharing it in the Discord group. So with that being said, now I want to move on to commodities, and I want to move on to actually, let's do USDT dominance first, okay? I covered this in the last videos, and the key was this breakout. So crypto is falling because the US dollar, USDT money and capital is flowing into USDT. Investors are fearful. Investors are seeking security. They're going into dollar. I've done the same thing, to be honest, with 90% of my capital in USDT. So with that being said, where will the USDT level go? I think we can go to 4.7 here. And I think that's a nice level for us to move up higher. It could even bounce here on the 4.6. That's what I'm looking for. And then I'm looking for rotation back into Bitcoin and then alts. I don't see alts moving without Bitcoin, especially with Bitcoin being at this key level that if it breaks, it could drag the whole market down by 50 to 20%. If Bitcoin breaks 112,000, we can go to 100,000 which is a 12% drop. And I think that's a 20%, 25% drop in alts. So I think we don't get that rotation into alts until it goes into Bitcoin first. That's what I'm looking for. And maybe a rotation into Ethereum. That's another one. Ethereum has shown a lot of strength lately. Bitcoin dominance is also key. This, I think, will become more important when we want to go into the alt season. Bitcoin dominance is very important. We want Bitcoin to increase here because we want the USDT to decrease, right? So at the moment, Bitcoin, the dominance growing is fine to a certain extent. So we want Bitcoin to grow to a certain level and then to drop. And then we want that money to flow into alts. So it's kind of like this balancing act that happens in crypto where money flows into USDT, from USDT into Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin shows strength, and then that flows into alts. And that's what we tend to see. That's what I would like to see anyway, and to feel confident in a move higher. And obviously with Bitcoin, if we're looking for a move higher from this base, we would have to regain 115K. So we'll place an alert there as well, just to watch that level, and we'll place an alert here for myself so that we can watch this level as well. So these are kind of the key levels I'm looking at if I want to enter shorts or longs, and I put alerts. So I'm doing this live, by the way, guys. So there's no editing. There's not a lot of editing happening here. It's a quick film and then share. Now let's go into the US dollar. The DXY is flat today. Not much happening. If we want that drop in the S&P, we want the DXY to move up higher. For me, it's now broken yesterday, the level. So 3-4 days in a row, I mentioned that I want that level to break. If we see that level break, then we see the S&P moving down. That's exactly what's happening here. We saw it yesterday. The US dollar move up and break this level, and then now we're seeing it move higher and potentially. So 3-4 days in a row, I've been sharing the same thing, and that's exactly what's happened here. And I don't see this now dropping down instantly. It's probably moved to 99, maybe even 100 before we get a drop in the US dollar, and I think that's fine, considering that it's been crushed this year completely. A retracement is fine, and that would obviously bring down the rest of the market. Now let's look at gold. Let's look at natural gas. I've mentioned natural gas a few times. Gold, how it's consolidating, and you're seeing it day in, day out with my analysis that it's in the same place. So 4 days in a row, we've moved a little bit up, a little bit down, but we've averaged around the same level. It's in a consolidation phase, and I mentioned it that I would like to see a breakout below here for short. I would like to see an early breakout here for potential long. That would be an early position size in here. We would maybe add a small position there, and then a full size position a little bit higher here for that move all the way to 3.5K if we get it. Natural gas has been consolidating as well. So commodities overall have been consolidating. But I think this will move up higher because it's in that key zone and a seasonal period where we might get a move higher here. I think that's it for me for today. Thank you very much for listening to the whole video, and if you've come this far, I suggest you guys subscribe and also go and watch the previous videos where I provided other insights and analysis so that you know how to analyze everything together. I provided you guys with an analysis since Monday, and you will be able to see every single move based on my analysis and how it's planned out. Moving forward, I suggest you guys subscribe, comment, and like if you enjoyed the content, and also follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and become part of the Discord group where you get to see all of my watch list, my insights throughout the day, and maybe even some new ideas that I might have and trades I'm taking. Take care. Bye-bye.